Hey guys, good morning and welcome back to this week's episode of What the Heck Do You Do? A weekly podcast where we highlight local business owners doing unique and unusual things. We come to you live every week from BDLocal studio here in downtown Tacoma every Thursday at 9:30 a.m. This week's sponsors are Restoring Hope and Rich Rhodes with New York Life. If you are interested in becoming a weekly sponsor on the show, or if you're interested in becoming a guest, you can reach out to me at rich.rhodes@gmail.com and we will get you all set up. I am super excited to introduce this week's guest. We have Miss Lori Marsh with Restoring Hope. How are you today?
I'm very good, and how are you?
I'm doing great. Glad to have you here.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, so I met Lori at one of our networking groups, the Gig Harbor Super Business Group, and she did a presentation on elder placement and senior care, and so at the time my father was sick and we were trying to figure out where is he going to end up, and so your presentation certainly hit home for me. And I think the thing that it did is it made me realize that a lot of people have no idea how to navigate this space.
It's true.
Until they're doing it for the first time with their parent or their grandparent, and you're lost, you're just trying to piece it all together day by day and make decisions, and you're not really stepping back and looking at the big picture. So that's why I can't wait to ask you some questions and have you share with people more about what that landscape looks like, how somebody like you can come in and help make it certainly a lot less stressful than it would be. So,
okay.
With that, why don't you tell us, I gave it away a little bit, but why don't you tell us what the heck do you do?
So Restoring Hope is an elder placement agency. I am located out of Puyallup, but I service King County, Pierce County, Thurston County, and Kitsap County. I actually just placed somebody a couple weeks ago all the way down in Centralia.
Okay.
I have placed 2 people even down in Oregon. I can do that long distance, but I can't tour with them. And that's one thing that kind of sets me apart from maybe some of my competitors, is not only I'm making the phone calls, I'm checking the review letters, I'm setting up the appointments, I'm touring with the family. And so whether I pick them up or they meet me, I'm actually with them on every tour. So if it's something really far away, like Oregon, I'm not touring with them, but I'm still making the phone calls, setting up the appointments, telling them what time, my client, which might be a spouse, it might be a son or a daughter, who's then touring for, their parent or their spouse. And then they choose, and then I set up somebody to do the assessment. There has to be an assessment that follows that client into that adult family home, which are licensed, bonded, and insured for 6 or less residents in a home setting that has been modified for wheelchairs, if someone's in a wheelchair.
Okay. So talk to us about sort of what stage is somebody in their life where they would reach out to you.
Okay. So it can be many things. Somebody with Alzheimer's, somebody with Alzheimer's who's exit seeking, somebody with Parkinson's, somebody with multiple sclerosis, somebody who's at absolute fall risk where 911 is constantly being called to the neighborhood. Maybe somebody who is just elderly, maybe late 80s or 90s, where they've recently lost their spouse after 60, 70 years of marriage, and they don't want to be home in that house all by themselves anymore. There might not be a lot of anything going on, but that loneliness and just that wanting to be protected somewhere. And when your spouse is no longer with you, maybe going into an adult family home, having that one-to-one care, or just having people around you, that's kind of the people I'm looking for.
Okay, and so is it the type of thing where they've had some care where somebody comes in into their home for a while and that doesn't work anymore, or is it a different option than doing that option?
Both. So sometimes I do get a home care company that does come in and they are offering those hours of care in the home. but now they're at a different level of care and they've had to add extra hours. And if they still own a mortgage, they own their house and they have a mortgage, they've got their utilities, they got their groceries, now they're paying a caregiver, it's not cost effective.
Okay.
That's when we maybe look at, okay, let's sell the house and let's move forward. And we can look at an adult family home, which they are licensed, bonded, and insured for 6 or less residents, or assisted living, or memory care communities. So there's 2 communities, assisted living and memory care. And those are everywhere also. And so I can place in all of those locations. And so it can be somebody that's just looking to sell their home and move forward, because caregiving 24/7 can run between $11,000 and $13,000 a month for 24-hour care.
Gotcha.
So I can find a really amazing adult family home for about $5,500 a month, which is completely all inclusive.
Gotcha. Yeah, so talk to us about that all-inclusive aspect. And so you talked about the home being for 6 or less residents.
Correct.
So it's it's most likely a one-story home, I'm assuming, or?
There are some that are 2-story, and so I have to know that has to be a very independent person who can go up and
Okay.
downstairs. But for the most part, maybe the caregivers or the owner or the manager, they may be upstairs or they may be downstairs, and so all the residents are on that one level.
Gotcha.
So again, so they are all inclusive. It includes all your needs. So 3 meals a day, 7 days a week, snacks in between, assistance with toileting, showering, dressing, grooming, Ted hose, shoes and socks. If food needs to be cut up in small pieces, or if something needs to be pureed, any kind of form of whatever is needed, whatever a doctor or something that's been prescribed for, the way they're supposed to take their food. So all adult family homes can do anything like that. If someone has Parkinson's and they're at the point in their life that they cannot lift their fork and feed themselves or pick up a glass and get a drink, you've got a caregiver sitting there by their side 7 days a week at every single meal, hand feeding them their food. If someone with multiple sclerosis can now no longer stand and bear weight, I have adult family homes that have a sit-to-stand machine or a Hoyer lift to assist with that because they cannot stand and bear weight.
Okay.
So there's a lot of things to look at. I mentioned earlier someone with Alzheimer's. Some people exit seek and some people do not. And so there are alarms on doors and windows of usually all adult family homes. They may not have it set on because they don't have anybody that is actually exit seeking, but the moment they get someone in their home that's exit seeking, that's actually turned back on again. So that if that door opens, then the caregivers know that someone is trying to leave that home.
Okay.
I also have adult family homes that have awake staff at night. So if we do have someone with Alzheimer's who likes to get up in the middle of the night and wander around, there's someone there to greet them. Hi, do you need to use the restroom? Would you like a snack? Let's sit down and visit. And then they coax them back to bed afterwards. But it's nice when I know that there's an adult family home with awake staff with someone with Alzheimer's that there's someone to greet them if they get up in the middle of the night.
Okay. And so you said licensed, bonded, insured. Maybe compare that with an actual nursing home, just to help people who maybe are conflating the two and making them the same. Like help people understand the difference between like a full-scale nursing home and an assisted living facility.
So that's how I got into this business. My dad is a preacher. My mom and dad just retired from the ministry at 44 years, like October of last year. My dad's dad was also a preacher, and I have an uncle who's a preacher. So I've been in church since the week I was born.
Okay.
And my dad would take our whole family. So we all sing different harmonies in our family. Bass, baritone. My mom is alto. I'm first soprano, and my sister is second soprano. And so we would all go what they used to call convalescent homes years ago. And my dad would play the piano, and we would all sing, and my dad would do a little sermon at the convalescent homes, which we now call nursing homes or rehabs or skilled communities or skilled rehabs or SNF. You might hear SNF, SNF, which is your skilled nursing facilities.
Okay.
We don't call them convalescent homes anymore, but that is really there for those that maybe have gone to the hospital, are very weak. Maybe they fractured a shoulder or a hip, or broke a shoulder or a hip and then have had surgery. Then they go to the skilled rehab or nursing home, and they really are supposed to be there just for rehab, and then they're supposed to leave there, and they're either going to go back home again with a home care company, or they say, no, you can't go back home. So that's where I step in and say, let's look at our other options. What are your needs? What would be the best fit? Would it be a memory care community? Would it be an assisted living community? Would it be a licensed, bonded, and insured adult family home? So it just depends on the family, and if they don't know, let's go look at both, and then you can say, oh no, that's too overwhelming for my mom. Let's look at the adult family homes. So we can then more focus on the adult family homes, and I will check the review letters and make those phone calls, and we'll go see 4 or 5, and then you will narrow it down to the ones you like the best. And then we get an assessment. It's an outside social worker that I use, and the assessments are $350. The adult family home creates almost like a Bible. It is a 3-ring notebook binder that is anywhere from 19 to 26 pages long, that tells the caregivers in the home and the managers and the owners what to do and what not to do, how they like their coffee. Oh, they don't like coffee, they like hot tea.
Okay.
You know, what time of day their meds are going to be given. You know, and then it'll say in there once they get the toileting schedule down and the showering schedule down, because the state will come out and actually audit these adult family homes once every 12 months.
Okay.
And so they don't make a phone call. They just pull up in the driveway and open the door and say, I'm here, you're being audited today.
Uh-huh.
And so
That's good.
they'll make sure that every med that's ever been given had been noted. And if it was refused, you have to say that it was refused, and then you have to call a family member and let the family member know that med was refused.
Okay.
So there's a lot that goes on in the adult family homes, and I love them because it's more that one-to-one care. You might have 2 caregivers during the day with only 6 residents.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So you talked about the homes being modified. So are these, and you said 6 or less.
Mm-hmm.
So there's not a ton of 6-bedroom houses necessarily. So
Correct.
are these houses literally being modified specifically for this? I know you mentioned like wheelchair access.
Yes.
Anyhow, you know, a ramp in the front door will get somebody in, right? So what does it look like to actually
Good question.
get these houses into?
There are some adult family homes that have been custom built, and there are 6 private rooms. There are some that have like maybe 2 shared rooms, so that equals 4 residents, and then 2 private rooms. So there's only 4 bedrooms. So if someone moves in paying privately, which is Social Security, pension, stocks, bonds, annuities, a long-term care insurance policy, and or the sale of their home, something that's private pay moving in, they're allowed to actually request that they want a private room. Then if they only have 2 years of private pay or 3 years of private pay, and they're going to end up having to apply for Medicaid, which is your aid through DSHS through the state. State will bring someone out. They'll do their assessment. They will determine the level of care at that time, and then they will give them what they call a daily rate. So let's say it's $100 a day. This adult family home just went from $5,500 a month of private pay down to $3,000 a month, because they're now receiving state assistance. They're still paying their caregivers exactly the same. They're still buying the same groceries, but they've just lost that income. And so it makes it really difficult that state doesn't provide a higher level daily rate for the adult family homes. So the modification might be a bathtub completely taken out, and it's all tiled floor and kind of sunk a little bit. So when you do roll a wheelchair in there, or you've got a shower chair and you're assisting with showering, then you know, you've got that water going right down the drain. You can make a mess. Yes, that's exactly right.
Okay.
And so the toilet is off to the side, and you've got a beautiful roll-in shower, and So most all of the adult family homes have done that. There are
Okay.
some that still have a tub, and they'll just put the person on there and push them over in a shower chair and swing their legs over. But most all of them these days are actually removing the bathtubs and using a full roll-in shower. There are bars around the shower. There are bars that either are permanent besides the toilet, or they lift up and you pull them down. And so the bathrooms are modified, and also, like you mentioned, ramps to the house, either in the front or to the back. Some of them have the entry to the adult family home around the back. So you open the gate and go around the back, and there's a ramp that leads up to the back, and you're entering into like the dining area of the adult family home. So,
Gotcha.
and all of the CNAs have to be at CNA level or higher, CNA, NAR, LPN, RN.
And CNR, just for everybody,
Uh,
or CRN is, or CNA, excuse me.
yeah.
I was guessing
let's see.
certified nursing assistant, but
Yes, you are exactly right. I was
All
like, man, that just slipped my mind. So they all have to pay for their own schooling, receive their own certification, and then they have to do 12 CEUs per year
Okay.
to have ongoing education every single year. And
Okay.
they will be monitored by state also. So they will also be checked when state comes in to do their inspection of the adult family home. So everybody is very educated, knows what to do with those with Parkinson's or Alzheimer's or multiple sclerosis or whatever the
Gotcha.
need is.
So this isn't just somebody who's like, hey, I think I can make some extra money
Yeah.
renting out, 6 rooms
No.
in my house. Let me just go for it.
Yeah.
It's a highly regulated
Yes.
industry, and
Yes.
these homes are certified essentially, and they're tracked and
Yes.
accounted for. So it's not just
And a lot of the people that own adult family homes or the managers, they actually came from a skilled nursing rehab, or they used to work in assisted living, or they worked at Western State Hospital for mental illness. And then they decided after years they wanted to open their own adult family home with the experience that they have received over the past, 10, 15, 20 years.
sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
I am a free service.
Yes, that's exactly that. I had 2 places I wanted to go, so we'll go there and then we'll circle back. So yeah, so
Okay.
talk to us about
So
your cost.
I am a free service. I am contracted with adult family homes from King County, to Thurston County to Kitsap County. And if I'm calling on a brand new home that opened, I just make sure that when I show up or I fax or I email my contract, they look over it and they send it back. So it's not like I am only contracted with certain homes or certain communities. If I'm showing something I've never shown before, then I just make sure that I get my contract. So I will show anything, anywhere. And once that contract is in place, then when the person is moving forward into an adult family home or a community and they've paid their first month's rent, then that community after 30 days or 45 days will give me a percentage of the first month's rent and care. If it's an adult family home, then I get a percentage of the first month's rent and care, but I split it in 2 payments. So I do some things a little differently than my competitors, because I want my caregivers not to be stressed out. I want them to be able to pay their caregivers, buy their groceries, pay their utilities, pay their mortgage. So I don't want to take everything out of their pocket. So I do a little bit lower percentage for my adult family homes,
Gotcha.
and I split it in 2 payments. And so nothing comes out of the family's pockets or any client that I'm working with. It comes out of the actual adult family home or the community.
Gotcha. And the benefit for them is you're actively marketing on their behalf and bringing them
Yeah.
potential residents so that they never have a gap in.
Right. And I do want people to understand that the clients I'm working with, the sons and the daughters, the spouse, that when we meet and we have this conversation that I'm going to take over, when I'm making the phone calls, I'm checking the review letters, I'm setting up the tours, I'm touring with them, I don't want them to run into like a coworker or somebody and say, oh, I had my father in this home one time. And so they go and they check this out and then they choose to do that when they've already decided to work with me, because that's the only way I do get paid. If
Right.
I move them forward someplace and I'm the one that set up the assessment, then I get paid.
Right.
It's unbelievable how many people I've worked with, and it still branched out on their own because somebody flew in from out of town that I had no idea was coming in from out of town. And then they started making phone calls, setting appointments, and then they went and looked at things. And sometimes it's not the appropriate place, like they don't accept Medicaid. And so they didn't really care. They liked the home. They moved forward knowing that in 2 years they were going to run out of funds and they were going to have to move their loved one because that adult family home didn't accept Medicaid.
Right.
I could have avoided that.
Gotcha.
So I can only get paid if I assist with the actual, move forward.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's kind of like having a realtor show you a bunch
That's
of
right.
houses, right? And then you go make an offer on your own by
Yes,
yourself, right?
that's
Yeah,
exactly right.
Yeah, it's not just the transaction; it's the entire process that you're compensated for.
Yes,
And so, yeah.
that's exactly right.
So talk to us maybe a little bit more about. You mentioned it briefly, but private pay, Medicare, Medicaid. I think that's also a very complicated landscape for people to
It is.
understand. You hope that your elders in your family are super wealthy and you never have to live in that world.
Yeah.
But I know reality is that's not the
Yeah.
case. So talk to us a little bit about kind of best case scenario down through worst case scenario and sort of maybe starting private pay and then shifting to Medicaid and try to maybe demystify that a little bit for us.
So the greatest thing I can tell anyone who's our age is to look into a long-term care insurance policy. Because the younger you are, the healthier you are, the less expensive it is. So it can run you like $100 a month, and it would protect you in the future. And that could be something as simple as being in a major car accident and not being able to work for 6 months. You can activate a long-term care insurance policy for that length of time while you're healing and not having an income come in. But the requirements these days are 2 full years of private pay. They don't care where that money comes from, whether that's a sale of your house or your long-term care insurance policy or stocks and bonds and annuities, something, your Social Security, your pension, anything that is private pay. But we know eventually some of those funds will run out completely.
So hold on, I just want to pause there. So you either can prove you have income coming in from Social Security and pensions that would cover it, or you have or an annuity, or you have assets that equal 2 years worth of payment.
Right. And
So-
you're not having to pay it up front. It is a month to month wherever you go.
Okay.
But
You're just demonstrating the ability that you're not going to get in there and then 3 months
Correct.
later not be able to afford
yes,
to
people
pay.
will not appreciate that, and they will be very angry with me because that's always usually the agreement. And some of my adult family homes, I talked to one yesterday that wants 5 years of private pay, and I said, nope, sorry. I said, the family I'm working with right now has 2 years of private pay. So it is my job also to negotiate those kinds of things. So if somebody tells me they want 3 years of private pay and then they can go on to Medicaid, and I say, you know what, they really love your home, would you be willing to negotiate 2 years of private pay before they can go on to Medicaid? And if they say yes, then that's great. I make sure that that's noted in their contract or their agreement. The agreement is that they will pay this amount of money every single month. And then if you were going to move out or something or move somewhere else, you give a 30-day notice.
Okay.
So it is month to month, but I can have that adult family home owner make that change that it's going to be 2 years for this particular family. So it's not, it's a case by case kind of thing. And if
Okay.
you've got someone like me that can come in and negotiate that, then I can have that change made. But then the home will help start that process with Medicaid with an application, or they can call me directly and say, how do I get on the website to do the Medicaid application, and make sure that you give yourself like 6 months.
I was going to say, so
6 months.
So you have about 2 years worth of payment available in
18
cash,
months.
whatever. So you're going to pay it yourself for 2 years, and then about 18 months into that 2 years, you start the Medicaid process.
Yes, correct.
So that way, that'll kick in.
Because it'll take probably a few months, and we always want to make sure that you've had enough time to do that. And when they come out and do their assessment and they've checked their finances, then we know that you're just about to the end and you won't be denied your Medicaid application. If you're denied your Medicaid application, then you still have too many funds, and then you have to start the process all over again.
Yeah, and I think that's a good distinction. And again, I've learned a lot about this, but I don't know that everybody does. So Medicare is available for everybody 65 and older, right? Medicaid
Correct.
is for those that have financial distress in their elder years
Yes.
and they cannot
Thank
afford
you.
care.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yes, Medicare
I
is
think
only
people just put a slash between those two things.
yes, and they
and
think
it
they're the
gets
same, and
right.
they'll say to me, you know, oh, my mom has her Medicaid insurance, and I said, you mean Medicare insurance? So Medicare is your insurance that will cover only like a hospital bed, a cane, a walker, a wheelchair, uh, you know, medications, you know, doctor's visits, hospital visits. That's what Medicare insurance is.
Kind of like health insurance for
Medicaid
us, right?
is aid.
Right.
Medicaid is aid through the state. So that's the difference between the two, and that you only apply for that when you no longer have any funds that, you know, or like you've run out of everything and you only have your Social Security check and it's $1,200 a month. Well, you can't use that if your bill every month is $5,500 in a home, so then you apply for Medicaid.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
No, I did. Again, this is all stuff that I was, you know, I understood parts of it, and then obviously I got firsthand experience to really understand it, and it can be very overwhelming.
It
so
can.
It's good to know that there are free, knowledgeable resources out there to help you navigate this situation.
Yeah.
And I think that's important for people to know, and certainly, you know, reach out to you to
Especially
do that, so.
those that are in that sandwich effect, you know, like you and I, we've got elderly parents, but we're still young enough to have, you know, kids. And so you've got, my kids are full grown, but, you know, you might have kids that are, you know, still in sports outside school, and you're trying to get off work and trying to go do that. And then you get a phone call saying, Mom fell, she's at a skilled, you know, or she's at the hospital, she's going to go to skilled, you know, in 3 days. And so you're like, I got to get my kids here and I got to deal with my parents here. And so if I could come in and take all that stress and anxiety away from families and say, let me take all of this on, you just do what you need to do, go and visit, let me worry about all the details. And then when I have those things lined up for us to see, just take off from work 3 hours for you to come and tour with me.
Gotcha.
So it's a lot, a lot easier.
Well, certainly easier than just Googling, right? And maybe not even knowing the right term to Google, right? Like, I don't know, old people home. Like, you don't even know the right terminology to find the best resources available on the internet.
And I have so many notes in my library that I know who I know, and I know who I like, and I know who I trust, and I know who calls me and tells me they have openings. So if you're someone that's just going to Google, you're going to have to make a phone call to every single one, and you don't know one from another. You don't know what they look like or anything. So I love what I do. I so love what I do.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah, I think that's important. So you have good enough relationships with several of these places that they say, hey, Lori, I have a bed and a room open.
Yep. And I've labeled them A, B, or C, or no way, I would never take my mother there. So C is usually, you know, maybe smaller environment, or they've only, you know, licensed for maybe 3, or it's a little bit cluttered because they have lots of like knickknacks. And so I make myself a little note, because maybe somebody was raised in a home like that, or maybe that's how their home is, so that would be the perfect home for them, or they are too expensive or really inexpensive.
I was going to say
so,
that would
yeah,
probably be
so
part of it, right?
I have those kinds of notes.
Yeah.
That somebody who's trying to do it all on their own, you know, they all look alike to them.
Sure.
Like one phone call after another after another. But even me, I still have to sit. If I, you know, was working with you today and you just called me, I would still be sitting for 3 or 4 hours making phone calls. And these are the ones that I know. But sometimes I've got to go back, leave messages, then go back and call again. And, you know, if somebody didn't answer their phone and there's no voicemail, I got to go back and call them again. So
it's a lot of work to find the right spot, and
it is.
Certainly if you're trusted, you know, you're sending your loved one, who I'm sure is scared, right, that they're being put into this situation.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, knowing that there's a trusted resource that's working really hard on your family's behalf, I think that's critical. And again, it's not one of those things where then you're shipping them a large bill to say, you know, here's what I charge for my services. So, so high value, low cost. I don't know what more anybody would want. So What's the best way? So if somebody is interested or they're getting to this phase in their life, when should they reach out to you? Is it when they think their parents might be needing to go somewhere in a few months or a year from now, or should they be doing it only when they know they're definitely ready to go? And then how should they best reach out to you?
So all of the above. If you just have questions, please feel free to call me. My phone is on 7 days a week. My kids are full grown, out of the house. My husband works for Pepsi Cola. He goes to bed at 7 o'clock at night. So I have people that call me, late in the evening. So literally, my phone is on 7 days a week. You can call me to ask questions, and then I can tell you that we should wait 3 more months or 6 more months because of, when I'm calling adult family homes, you want that person to be able to move in within, a week to 2 weeks. We don't want to make a phone call now for an adult family home that's for 3 months. They won't hold a room open. So we need to make sure we're close
Okay.
to that. So you can reach me at 253-576-1094. My email address is lori@rhsenior.solutions with an S on the end.com.
So RH standing for Restoring Hope
That's
Senior
right.
Solutions. Yep. Very cool. Well, thank you so much. This was super helpful for me, and hopefully to everybody tuning in, you found this helpful as well. So it was a
Thank you.
pleasure chatting with you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And thank you guys, of course, always for tuning in. Tune in next week to hear more from Nicole Watman with Evergreen Financial Services. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, great rest of your week, and keep chasing your dreams. Thanks.
Thank you.